Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Down the Tee Tennis Podcast. I hope you've already listened to us men's singles predictions. If not, and you're interested, be sure to give them a listen. But now we're going with the women's singles preview and predictions for Wimbledon in 2022. Obviously, a very unique Wimbledon this year. And we'll start by looking through the grass court champions so far in 2022, starting with Rosmalen in the Netherlands. Alexandrova beat Sabalenka in the final. Both of those players are not going to appear at Wimbledon, obviously, due to the Russian and Belarusian plan, which we've discussed at depth already about the consequences of that. So I don't think we'll go into that too much again. Kudermetova also was a runner-up in the final of the doubles there, and a semi-finalist as well in the singles. Another player but will be missing from the draw alongside we've mentioned Sabalenka, but also Victoria Azarenka if she was fit to play. So a lot of big players missing actually, and same as the men's. Some big players removed from the draw because of that. Moving on, Nottingham, Beatrice Haddad-Maia started with some amazing grass court form, which continued throughout the grass court season. At the German Open in Berlin, the WTA 500 there, Ons Jabeur takes the title against Belinda Bencic. Then the Birmingham Classic, the WTA 250, Haddad-Maia beat Zhang Shuai in the final. Her second grass court title of the year. Eastbourne, Petra Kvitova, fantastic grass court player and looking like she might be back to her best, taking the title there against Elena Elstapenko in the final. We'll mention Haddad-Maia again, making the semi-finals of that as well. And in Bad Homburg, Caroline Garcia taking the title against Bianca Andreescu. Interesting to see Andreescu in a grass court final. It's probably been the surface she hasn't proved herself on yet so far. And Caroline Garcia, probably more known for doubles recently, but a great singles player as well. I think decent pedigree on grass and taking a title there. So looking at that, I think there's been a lot of results there that maybe shakes up as predictions. Isn't there a few players that maybe weren't at the forefront of his mind until the grass court season?
Yeah, I'll definitely say so. I mean, definitely Beatrice Haddad-Maia taking the two titles and then backing up with the semi-final in Eastbourne has definitely put herself right in the conversation as a player to watch out for at Wimbledon. I think hadn't won a WTA title before that and had actually been having some solid results. She'd been on the comeback. I think since last year, since she'd had a drugs ban, but she had some good results in the ITF too. So to see it really do that on the grass has been impressive to watch, and also Ons Jabeur winning another title on grass, and Kvitova returning to form with the title in Eastbourne. We know obviously what she can do on grass, being a two-time Wimbledon champion, but she's been out of form really this year and for a bit of last year, haven't seen the best of us. So yeah, some players, and also Caroline Garcia, you'd say, who was ranked 75th in the world, but picking up, I think, her second grass court title, or was it the third? Again, another player who hadn't been on a great run of form, but has come back into form at the right time as far as Wimbledon's concerned.
And another player that wasn't at the forefront of his mind heading into the grass court season, but very much propels herself to the forefront of his mind is Serena Williams, back in action for the first time since I think Wimbledon last year was her last appearance, actually, wasn't it? Where she unfortunately had a slip in her first round match and had to retire. And then, obviously a year since we've seen her again, you do get those doubts creeping into your mind. I think it's going to be a stretch. I mean, we'll go through it in his predictions to see her going really, really far here. But, on grass where she can shorten points, use her serve really effectively, just maybe we'll see some classic Serena Williams along the way. So how excited are you to see Serena back?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic to see her back. Because obviously there was some uncertainty as to whether she would come back. I was confident we'd see her again at some point, but it did seem to be a pretty serious injury, given how long it had kept her out, and with there being kind of no update on it really since Wimbledon, so we just didn't know what was going on. But it's great to see her come back at Wimbledon. A tournament. She's been fantastic, obviously, and to compete for the 24th slam, which is chasing again. Obviously, yeah, as you said, it's going to be a tough one this time, but just to come back and get the opportunity to do that at Wimbledon, where it's been such a fantastic tournament for her, it's great to see. So yeah, I'm really pleased to see her back, and hopefully hopefully it isn't the last slam, but if it is, at least it isn't going to end on that disappointing memory that she had last year with the injury.
Yeah, and played at Eastbourne in the doubles partner Ons Jabeur as well. And I think they were going well, but Jabeur had to pull out due to a little doubt. I don't think a big injury, but with Wimbledon coming up, if there's something bothering you in the doubles at Eastbourne, I think you can't hold that against her. You're just going to have to pull out. But they were going well as a team until that. So doubles doesn't translate to singles. Obviously, you've got to cover a lot more of a court. That changes the whole complexion of the game, but some encouraging signs there. But before we get into his predictions, Ewan, I know we joke about it every time with the WTA, but just how hard was this to predict? Because every section I went through, I had to open up multiple pages, check grass court form, check form this season, because I'm like, who actually comes through this?
Yeah, this really was a tough one. I mean, it's the most difficult one I can remember us doing on this podcast ahead of a slam. And it's, yeah, like you said, I think for me, for virtually all the sections, you could make a pretty strong case for at least two players to make it to the quarters or further. So yeah, just the way, well, with the nature of it being grass, obviously a surface we get so little of, that being a smaller sample size to know what to expect from players, and also just the way the draws played out with where players have landed. It is a pretty balanced draw, which in one sense is a good thing with there being quality throughout it. But yeah, it does make it difficult to predict. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, and with that, we will get into his predictions, which could go terribly considering how difficult we've both found it. But, let's hope we do well. I think French Open, neither of us did too well with WTA initially. I think we both had early losses for people we predicted to go far. Let's see if this is better. I'll bring up the draw right now. Can you see that, Ewan?
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully anyone watching the YouTube version of the podcast can see that too. So starting with that section one, just talk us through what you've got there.
Yeah, so I've got an Iga Swiatek, Elena Rybakina quarterfinal, which wasn't an easy one to come to, but with Swiatek, I was fairly confident compared to a lot of the other sections. Not that it's an easy draw though. I mean, I think when you look at Alice Cornet in there would probably be a dangerous opponent in the third round. Put in Saver, we haven't seen do as much on the grass. But I think the first 3 rounds wouldn't be too bad. Although Sonny Cartel is definitely a player to watch out for. A British player who's had some great results, particularly at the ITF level. So it would be interesting to see if she can get through that first round and take on Swiatek. It would be good to see that. But yeah, in the fourth round, I think is where it could be a tricky one with Barbora Krejcikova, Victoria Golovic, who got the quarterfinals last year. You've got Tomljanovic, who got to the quarterfinals last year. Teichmann, who's just had some really good results in general. Maybe not so much experience on grass, but yeah, I mean, Krejcikova, a bit of uncertainty over her though, given the lack of tennis. She's played just one match on the grass this year, and she lost it after she'd come back from injury at the French Open, where she lost in the first round. So maybe a few question marks over her fitness, but yeah, I would maybe have Tomljanovic to come through the fourth round again. It's a difficult one to call, but I'd back Swiatek to come through that. I don't think it's the worst draw, and we did see her make the last 16 at Wimbledon last year, which was a pretty solid result, where she lost to Jabeur. So I think she can come through here again. And as I said, to me, Rybakina, this one was really difficult. I think this second section, I mean, Rybakina again made the last 16 last year, lost a tight match to Sabalenka. So I think, yeah, she's definitely a player who can do well on the grass, and with an aggressive game, hits the ball pretty flat. I do think she can do well here again, but not an easy one with you've got Andreescu as a potential second round opponent who's seen have a great week in Bad Homburg and really find some form on the grass, which we hadn't seen previously. And Muguruza in there as well. I mean, would be the player, if you could say she'd be somewhere near her best form that you'd pick, but we just haven't seen that this year. It's been on a bad run, and that's really continued into the grass court season. So I just couldn't expect too much from Muguruza here. And Sloane Stevens as well, not to be overlooked. Still as an unseeded player, but we've seen her still have some strong runs at the slams, kind of when she's flying under the radar. So definitely a watch out for her as well. But I've gone with Rybakina to get through. And in the little bottom section there, you've got Pegula, hasn't played a match on grass yet this year, hasn't really got as much experience on the surface. And yeah, Shelby Rogers, Martic, there's definitely some dangerous players in there. Vekic, who Pegula's got in the first round, who has won a title on grass and had some success, made some other finals. But so I'll just go with Rybakina to get through. But there's a number of names there that are capable, I think.
Yeah, I've also got Swiatek to come through, and weirdly, don't call me out on this, I've got to come through and meet Sloane Stevens in the quarterfinal. Starting with that section one, Iga Swiatek. I spoke to and watched a bit of Sonia Cartel in Ilkley. She was playing really well. She lost to Jodie Burrage in the semi-final All British Affair, and fantastic form at the ITF level. I'd love to see her get through the first round there, but I think if she met Swiatek in the second round and lost to her, it would be a positive experience. Just 20-year-old, hampered by injuries for a lot of her junior career, but really breaking through now. So, she's maybe one to watch out for in the future, but I don't think Wimbledon's going to be anything past the second round for her this year. And then, like you say, the rest of section one, a lot of players are, the decent, but, good players, even great players in Barbora Krejcikova, but not as proven on grass. Krejcikova made the fourth round of Wimbledon last year, so maybe someone you can talk about. Tomo Janovic also Wimbledon quarterfinal last year. But I think with both of those players, Krejcikova losing in the first round of the French Open, really cast doubt over where she is at the moment. Tomo Janovic, I don't think she's been having a fantastic year, to be honest. Not bad, but not great. So honestly, I look at Elise Cornet, a possible third round opponent for Swiatek, as maybe her biggest stumbling block there. She also not having a great year, but made a bit of a breakthrough at Bad Homburg, making the the semi-finals even. So, I see Swiatek coming through that. Although Swiatek hasn't played since the French Open, so maybe a little bit of doubt there. As for section two, this was really difficult to call. And once again, there's players that have been in quarterfinals, and you've got Muguruza, the 2017 champion, but we haven't seen anywhere near Muguruza's best this year, and it's been so long since she's been in form. It's really hard to see her reaching that form here. If she did, she'd be a threat for anybody. Bianca Andreescu maybe made a breakthrough, but still that little bit of doubt. I don't think she's been past the first round of Wimbledon. And you know what? I could even see Harriet Dart making the fourth round, to be honest. A Wimbledon finalist in mixed doubles. She's had some good results on the grass this year. So, you know what? I think I'll have Sloane Stevens, who has made the Wimbledon quarterfinals before, but yet to win a grass match this year. But we've got a lot of players like that here who, they're yet to win a grass match this year or something like that. To be honest, Andreescu is probably the form player on grass in this section. I'd maybe have Sloane Stevens because she had a decent French Open as well, so maybe she's back towards the best to come through against Harriet Dart in the fourth round, and that'd be a really strong run for Dart. I'd love to see that. But awful section to call, really difficult section to call. We'll move on to section 3 and section 4, where I don't think it gets a lot easier. Who have you got to meet in the quarterfinal from these two?
Yeah, I would agree. It doesn't get much easier, particularly with the top part of the section here. But I've gone with Pera Kvitova to meet Coco Gauff. And again, it's a one where there's definitely a few strong contenders. I think Kvitova, though, just really just putting herself back in the forefront of your mind as a Wimbledon contender with Eastbourne title run. Did get to see some of that and really did play some fantastic tennis. She can be extremely difficult to stop, particularly on the grass with just the power she possesses, the flat game, the big serve. She's really outstanding there against Elstapenko in the final, who'd also been having a great run, won pretty convincingly. So I've gone with it to come through, and it is, I think the first couple of rounds, I can see it being okay. I mean, Yastremska's in there, someone you'd watch out for, can be dangerous, but I'd have Kvitova to come through and maybe meet Badosa in the third round, which, I mean, obviously with their ranking, would be a difficult match, but we haven't seen great results from her really at the slams since the French Open last year. And I think on the grass, you would probably say it would maybe be a worse surface, the one she's got the least experience on. So I would have Kvitova to win that with what we've seen from her on the grass, get through the fourth round, where I think I would go with it to me. Simona Halep, who for me was the other one I was really tempted to go with, because I mean, she made back-to-back semi-finals during the grass court season, including in Bad Homburg this week. Did pull out of a match ahead of a match with Bianca Andreescu with I think it was a slight neck injury, so probably more a precaution than a serious injury, but maybe just a slight doubt over that. And also, I just look with Karolina Mukova in the first round is not something anyone wants to see. I mean, a really dangerous opponent, someone who, for me, probably would be in the top 20 if she could stay healthy, really, and play regularly. Such a talented player. We saw her take out Zachary at the French Open just recently, and we've seen her have, I think, a run at the quarterfinals at Wimbledon, beating Karolina Pliskova before, so that's a difficult one. I would just have Halep maybe to survive it. But also, you've got Camilla Giorgi in there as a third-round opponent who's also made the quarterfinals at Wimbledon. Really dangerous player again. But yeah, even if Halep does come through that, I'll just give Kvitova the slight edge on the grass, even though Halep does lead the head-to-head 4-1. I think none of those meetings came on grass, and I think some of them were pretty tight. So I'll go with Kvitova. And yeah, Coco Gauff, to me, this one was maybe slightly easier. Still not straightforward, but she's made the last 16 at Wimbledon twice. Is definitely capable on the grass. Has got some wins under her belt on the grass as well this year, and I could see her coming through the fourth round there. Not easily, but I don't think it's the worst draw for her early on. Anisimova, obviously a dangerous player in there, but I would say probably not quite as comfortable on the grass, as she is on the hard courts. And clay definitely has the power, though, to be a threat. But yeah, I'd have Gauff to come through and meet. I'll actually go with Serena Williams to me in the fourth round. I do think we could see a little run from Serena here. I think the good thing for us, at least the first two matches don't look too bad against Harmony Tan and then possibly Sorribes Tormo. But obviously there is just doubts over fitness, form, obviously just not playing a singles match since, in a year. But yeah, I think I could maybe see a upset, not an upset really, beating Pliskova in the third round, given it's Serena. But in terms of ranking and lack of matches, I could see her winning a few matches, and then I would just go with Gauff in the fourth round to maybe end the run there. But it's an interesting one again to see how that happens with Serena. It's just a bit of an unknown.
Yeah, I've also gone with Kvitova to come through and meet Coco Gauff in the quarters. So I mean, I'd probably just echo a lot of the points you made. I think Section 3 is a strong section. You've got a two-time champion in Kvitova there. You've got the 2019 champion in Simona Halep, who's had a big resurgence this year on the comeback from her injury issues. So, to be honest, I see that being the fourth round. As you say, Muchova is a difficult first-round opponent. Camilla Giorgi, former quarter-finalist, a dangerous player in there. Badosa made the fourth round last year. Hasn't had a great history on grass to this point in her career, but maybe made a bit of a breakthrough last year in reaching the fourth round. But Petra Kvitova coming back into form is a dangerous sign for anybody coming into Wimbledon. I was on Tennis Explorer, and any win-loss record I give on grass is based on all levels of the tour, so even like qualifying events, ITF events from back in the day, because that's what Tennis Explorer gives. So these aren't all main tour matches, I don't think, but Kvitova is 66 wins to 22 losses on grass. That's 3 times more wins and losses. If she comes back into form on grass, as she possibly showed in Eastbourne, winning the title there, then, it's bad news for a lot of people in the draw. So I'll have her to make at least the quarterfinals and meet Coco Gauff, where once again, I echo a lot of what you said. I see her going one better. She's appeared at Wimbledon twice and made the fourth round both times. She made the big step forward at the French Open to make the final there. So with some decent pedigree on grass, I do see her going at least one step further here and making the quarterfinals. Serena, possibly a fourth round opponent. As we say, if there's obviously struggles for maybe match fitness and stuff, having been off the tour for an entire year, but grass, you can maybe mitigate that by keeping the points short. She still hits big. Her serve looks decent at Eastbourne. You know, she's still got power off both wings. So if she can win points with a serve plus 1 points, you know, and shorter matches, she could maybe go far. But I would maybe give Pliskova the fourth round. I think losses to Goff in the quarterfinal in Berlin and a 63-30 career record once again across all levels of the tour on grass. I think just a little bit more recent singles experience and stuff, I'd probably back her for the fourth round above Serena to meet Coco Gauff, and I'd have Gauff to win that fourth round match into the quarterfinal. So we've both got the same quarterfinal there, I believe. Moving on to section 5 and section 6, I wonder if there's going to be any difference here. Who have you got to meet in the quarterfinal from these two?
Yeah, another interesting one, and I've gone for Alison Riske to meet Ons Jabeur in this quarterfinal, which, yeah, particularly the top section, I think was quite a difficult one again, because Madison Keys was in here where Zhang Shui is right now. He's been put up as the 33 seed, but did withdraw yesterday. So Keys is the player I actually probably would have gone with there, but just unfortunately pulled out with an injury. So yeah, it's a difficult one with Danielle Collins, the highest seed, but hasn't played since the French Open, and also hasn't really had the results on the grass we've seen from her, particularly on hard courts and also on clay to an extent. With Riske, we've seen her win a grass court title and also be a runner-up at 2 other grass events, including this year. So yeah, I think she's got a decent chance to come through there. Wimbledon quarterfinalist in 2019 as well, where she beat Ash Barty. So definitely does have pedigree on the grass. Is well suited to it with a flat game. I do think you can see Riske coming through there. It's not an easy draw with Siniakova and Collins, but yeah, I can see the fourth round. I've not written off. I mean, Emma Raducanu, it's just the unknown over her fitness, really. I mean, with doesn't seem to be great. Obviously, had to pull out of a practice session. I think it was yesterday. Obviously, couldn't play at Eastbourne last week after the injury she picked up the week prior. So yeah, just for me, a bit of a question mark over whether she is at 100%. Obviously, we hope she is, and if she is, then I think she's also got a good chance here. But not an easy draw in Alison van Uytvanck, who's beaten Gobby and Muguruza at Wimbledon before, and it's quite good on grass. Also, Garcia potentially in the second round. He's just won a 3rd grass court title. Is obviously in form, always a dangerous player. And Zhang Shui also good on grass. So it's not an easy draw though for Emma Raducanu, which does make it a bit more difficult to pick her when there is that doubt over. So I'm going to go with Riske to come through and meet Ons Jabeur, who again, it's not an easy one, but Jabeur, like going into the French Open, she's coming in with great form. This time winning the title in Berlin, which was a second on the grass. We sort of reached the quarterfinals in Wimbledon last year, beating Swiatek. So I think she's got the talent and the game really to succeed on all surfaces, but you'd say maybe particularly on the grass with the aggressive approach she has, how she can flatten out the ball, one of the flatter hitters really, and the variety, the drop shot, the great slice, it definitely does all make sense on grass. And I think the first 2 rounds you look at would be pretty, definitely a good draw. Canepi in the 3rd rounds, always a dangerous one, but I would just back her to come through. And then Angelique Kerber in the 4th round is the tough one, who obviously a Wimbledon champion, finalist as well on another occasion, semi-finalist last year. That does make it difficult. But not in the greatest form. Kerber didn't, after she won Bad Homburg last year, only made the quarters this year, so not quite going in with the same form. I'll just go with Jabeur to come through that, but it's definitely not an easy one because we know what Kerber's capable of.
Yeah, we've both got Ons Jabeur into the quarterfinal. I think that was a fairly easy pick, but there is, as you say, Angelique Kerber is a factor that you've got to think about with her fantastic career on grass courts. I actually have her to meet Caro Garcia in the quarterfinal. Winning Bad. Wait, what did she win?
Yeah, Bad Homburg.
She won Bad Homburg. Yeah, thank you for helping me out there. Winning Bad Homburg. So coming in off the back of a title. As you say, Alison Riske is also in good form this grass court season, so it is a difficult pick. And I have got that as my 4th round, despite, as you say, Zhang Shui being a factor on grass courts. And then you've got Raducanu, once again, the doubts about. I didn't actually know about her pulling out of the practice session. I obviously know about the injury issues she's had this season. I didn't know that she pulled out of the practice session recently. That's a really, really bad sign, actually. So yeah, I don't want to write off Raducanu, but a very difficult first round draw, and the issues or the doubts over her fitness at the moment. I've got to say, oh God, I've skipped to the bottom there, that it is between Caro Garcia or Alison Risk. And yeah, I'm going to give it to the Bad Homburg champion to come through. And as I say, meet Ons Jabeur in the quarterfinal. You can't look past Jabeur at the moment with the form she's shown. Last 2 years, especially, really, I think she's ready to really take a slam by storm. And I think she does quite well on the grass as well. So a quarter final for her. Moving on into section 7 and section 8, as Belinda Bencic pops up on the screen there. Who do you have coming through these sections?
Yeah, for these sections, I've got Elena Elstapenko, Beatriz Haddad-Maia quarterfinal as the final quarterfinal, and yeah, these again were interesting ones. There's definitely a few players you could look at, but yeah, with Ostapenko, I would actually say grass has been her best surface, despite the fact she's a French Open champion, and obviously it's a small sample size on the grass. But again, this year reaching the final in Eastbourne after winning it last year, and also she's made the semis at Wimbledon before and the quarters on separate occasions. So it has been her most consistent slam and a surface where she's really had success. And it's probably no surprise with her aggressive game, the way she takes it on both sides. And I think she does have quite a good draw actually in certainly the first 3 rounds. I think with Trevisan being the other seed there, you'd say is a click or specialist. So I could see again through the 4th round. And Zachary, not someone to write off. I mean, did make the semifinals in Berlin. I do think she can have success on grass, but you'd say I don't think she'll be as much of a threat as on the hard courts and clay, just from what we've seen so far. So I would go with Ostapenko to come through there, with that probably being the last 16 match. Against Zachary or Castella as well, maybe a dangerous opponent, but again, probably not at her most comfortable on the grass. And yeah, I've gone with Haddad-Maia, the really informed player, as we've mentioned. I mean, with those 2 titles under a belt, and then also the semi-final in Eastbourne, losing it in fairly tight to Kvitova. I mean, doing it all in England as well. She'd serve her well conditions wise going into Wimbledon, and yeah, I think she can carry on here, even though we haven't seen her get past the 2nd round of a slam before. But just with that confidence she could have, the tennis she's playing right now is really making her a contender, and has beaten Muguruza at Wimbledon. So yeah, I would have just giving her the edge of a Bencic, probably in the 3rd round. Bencic in that Berlin final against Jabeur did pick up an ankle injury, which forced her to retire. So that's a bit of a concern for her coming in, with that just happening around a week ago. I'd have to go with the Brazilian, and then to beat maybe Annette Kontaveit in the 4th round, who's not been in the best of form really. I think hasn't won a match since April, hasn't played too much, but yeah, again on grass we haven't seen I think actually last year maybe she did reach the final in Eastbourne, but just not much really to show this year in terms of form, particularly on the grass. So I'll go with Haddad-Maia to come through and meet Ostapenko.
And more agreement here, actually. We've got the same quarterfinal again. Helena Ostapenko versus Beatriz Haddad-Maia. And yeah, once again, echo a lot of what you say. So starting with Helena Ostapenko, a semi-final at Wimbledon in 2018, quarterfinal in 2017, final of Eastbourne this year. I look at that and I think out of this section, she's the standout player, especially on grass. I think Serena Castella is a 4-time Wimbledon 3rd round. So, tends to pick up a couple of wins on the grass, but doesn't really threaten for the title. Maria Sakkari, I've got her actually making the 4th round to meet Helena Ostapenko. I think she's made the 3rd round twice as her best results at Wimbledon, but made the semi-final of Berlin this year. So maybe a bit of improvement on grass there. Not that she's really bad on grass either, and fairly aggressive hitter, so got the game for it. But then Ostapenko's pedigree on grass compared to Sakkari's, I think you've got to back her to win that 4th round into the quarterfinal, where I've also got her to meet Beatriz Haddad-Maia once again. because of the form, because as you say, 3 finals, all in England as well. That's a good point. This year on the grass, 2 of winning the title of 2 of them. Yeah, you can't really look beyond her with the form she's showing. Obviously, Belinda Bencic is also another player you can never really count out completely. I think twice in the 4th round of Wimbledon, so fairly decent previous results at the tournament. And then I've sneakily put Jodie Burrage to actually meet Haddad Maia in the 4th round. Yeah, I've seen her win a lot on grass this year. I think a 10-4 record for the year on grass. Once again, that's at all levels, including ITF, where in Ilkley, she beat 3 top 150 players on her way to the final, and then the semi-final against Sonia Cartel. She took Dal McGalfy, who's also in this section, actually, a top 100 player, to 3 sets in the final. After that, she went on to be 2 top 100 players, including a best career win against world number 3 or 4 at the time, Paula Badosa, in the 2nd round. So coming in with some good form and some good confidence on grass. I think Petra Martic was her other winner at Eastbourne. So, you know, like I say, I wanted a strong British run with Cam Norrie yesterday. I want a strong British run with Jodie Burrage as well. The 4th round and then losing to the most informed player on grass coming into Wimbledon, you'd have to say in Haddad Maia. I think that'd be a very good run for her. So I think we've ended up with a lot of the same quarterfinals there. Your first quarterfinal was Iga Swiatek versus
Elena Rybakina.
Rybakina, yeah. And then your second quarterfinal was Petra Kvitova versus Coco Gauff, which is where the agreement started. So
yeah, just
looking at those 2, who makes the semi-finals, who meets there?
Yeah, I've gone with Swiatek to beat Elena Rybakina, which again I think could be an interesting one. Firstly, I'm more convinced she would get to that stage, but then also I think it's a matchup I think she could handle. I mean, being Rybakina mainly a power player, baseline ball striker, definitely very effective at that. But yeah, I haven't seen her go past that stage of the slam yet. Did I think make the quarters at the French Open last year? I think it would have to give the edge in experience to Swiatek, but also just in level. I don't think she can. Rybakina would have to play an exceptional match to blow Swiatek off the court. Doesn't really have other options that I think she could trouble her with. So I would have to go with Swiatek with the form she's in and just how well she defends, the power of her own that she's got. Couldn't look past her there. And yeah, I'll have it to meet Pera Kvitova in the semis. I'd have Kvitova to have another great run at Wimbledon and carry on the form she started in Eastbourne. Just to beat Coco Gauff there. I think Kvitova, when she is in form, when she's confident on this surface, as we've talked about, can be so difficult to beat. Just almost, in terms of the serve and the ground stroke she has, just so well suited to the grass, being a lefty as well. Just so difficult to stop. I'll give her the edge over Gauff, who clearly has shown she can play on grass as well and has a big serve of her own. But yeah, I'll go with Kvitova, the experience she's got at this tournament and the way she's playing right now. I think she's set for a good run here.
Yeah. Before I move on to mine, actually, I'm just going to say, I think I've done well here. And do you know why I think I've done well? Because we always have problems with the WTA with high-ranked players falling early, and then you get some surprise low-ranked players going far in the tournament. And I've got a world number 48, a world number 55, a world number 28, all making the quarterfinals here. So I reckon I've absolutely nailed this. But starting with the match that features the world number 48 at the moment, Sloane Stevens. I've got Iga Swiatek to beat her. There's no previous form guide here. The 2 I've never met, at least not in a competitive main tour match. For may have at some point met in an exhibition, I'm not sure. Or practice at least. But world number 1 at the moment, Iga Swiatek. Like I say, a little bit of doubt because of the fact that she hasn't played on grass. She hasn't played since the French Open, but she's just been another level for pretty much the whole season. And once again, I don't really see her losing, not to Sloane Stevens anyway. So I've got her to come through and, like yourself, meet Petra Kvitova. Once again, there's no previous form guide here between Kvitova and Coco Gauff. They've never played each other, but I just feel Kvitova's experience on grass, also her current form as well. She's like I say, she's done well in the build-up tournaments. I feel like that just gives her the edge on Gauff at the moment. But like I say, Gauff going one step further than her 2 fourth-round appearances, it'd be another step forward for her in her young career. So we've both got the same semi-final there. Your next 2 quarterfinals I've got them written down here. Alison Riske versus Ons Jabeur and Helena Ostapenko versus Beatrice Haddad-Maia. Who meets in the semi-final?
Yeah, I've gone for an Ons Jabeur, Elena Elstapenko semi-final. So Jabeur against Alison Riske, I think would be an interesting one. I mean, as both of them comfortable on the grass, but and both of them quarterfinalists. But yeah, I just think Jabeur has just a higher ceiling. Really, I would say a bit more power, a bit more variety. Maybe Riske definitely a really, as we talk about, effective player on the grass with the flat way she hits the ball, the way she can absorb pace and redirect it. But I just think Jabeur, just the power she has, the slice she has, the drop shots, I would have to give her the edge there with, and again, winning a pretty big title in Berlin, a WTA 500. She was really strong at Wimbledon last year, knocking out Swiatek. So I do think I would give Jabeur the edge in that matchup. Would be an interesting one. They're definitely 2 players comfortable on grass. I think it would be a good one to watch. And to me, Ostapenko, I would just go with Ostapenko over Haddad-Maia. Not an easy one, both in great form, particularly Haddad-Maia, as we said, but Ostapenko with the final in Eastbourne and a history at Wimbledon is impressive. Haven't seen her actually go past the 3rd round of a slam since reaching I think that semi-final in Wimbledon in 2018. So it has been quite a while, but maybe she's due another run here. Definitely is in form. Overall, has had a pretty good year. Didn't have a great clay court season, but earlier in the hard court, she'd also put a good run together. So generally, I think it's in a pretty good shape on the quicker surfaces, especially. So I'd have it just to beat Haddad-Maia. There would be an interesting one though, because I mean was beaten heavily by fairly convincingly by Kvitova in the Eastbourne final, and you'd say Haddad-Maia quite a similar player to Kvitova, being a tall lefty with an aggressive game. So it'd be interesting to see if Ostapenko could handle that. But yeah, I would just have it go through with the baseline power she's got. I mean, she can't be so difficult to stop when confident.
And I've got a bit of difference here. So I've also got Ons Jabeur to come through. I've got her to come through Caroline Garcia. I had a bit of help from a form guide here. They have met each other twice, both at slams as well, in the Australian Open in 2020 and the US Open in 2019. Jabeur won both those previous meetings on the hard courts. I'll have her to win here on the grass as well. Pretty much because the form guide says so. And like I say, Jabeur looks very comfortable on grass, especially the last couple of years, in great form. So I think I've got her for a Wimbledon semi-final. But I've got her to meet Beatrice Haddad-Maia. I'm just going with the form guide. I'm going with the hype train, like I'm on the Timothy van Rijthoven hype train. I'm also on the Beatrice Haddad-Maia hype train as well. A player that wasn't at the forefront of my mind coming into the grass court season, but then, I mean, won 2 titles and made a final, so he maybe has the edge on Timothy van Rijthoven there. And coming up against Helena Ostapenko, also in really good form, but I feel like she can give her a very good test, as you say, lefty, so could be an awkward one. And there is some help from a form guide again here. They have met twice, and Ostapenko won both of those meetings. But the last one was in 2018. Obviously, Haddad-Maia had some time off the tour, we'll say. But I'll have Haddad-Maia to break through here. We need a surprise semi-finalist as well. There's always at least one surprise semi-finalist in the WTA, isn't there? So that'll be my somewhat surprise semi-finalist. So your semi-finals, you've got Swiatek versus Kvitova and Jabeur versus Ostapenko. So who makes the final?
Yeah, I've gone for an Iga Swiatek Ons Jabeur final, which I predicted for the French Open, and didn't really come close to that one with Jabeur going out in the first round. But I'm a bit more confident this time on the grass, despite what we've said about how difficult it is to predict. But yeah, I mean, starting with Swiatek against Kvitova, not really an easy match to call, I would say, given what Kvitova possesses and just the challenge she brings to the table on this surface. Even for Swiatek, someone who does defend so well, move so well, Kvitova really is at the top end of that type of player who can blow you off the court with a serve, how flat she hits it. So it would be an interesting challenge on grass to see if Swiatek can cope with that, particularly on the return. But yeah, I've gone with her just to handle it. I mean, she did win their only previous meeting, which came in Miami earlier this year. Not quite a different surface, you'd say, but it's maybe something to read into. It was fairly convincing. Kvitova, though, in better form now, so it would be an interesting one. But I'll just go with maybe the all-round game of Swiatek and just the level she's been at this year to give her the edge there over the player with the Wimbledon pedigree. And to meet Jabeur, which again would be a first slam final. I would have Jabeur just to beat Ostapenko, which the head-to-head 1-1 at tour level. Ostapenko actually winning the one on grass, so not an easy one to call. And Ostapenko, in terms of sheer power, you'd give the edge to, but Jabeur maybe just with the extra variety. The drop shots could, I think, cause Ostapenko some problems with the slice. We have seen that, on grass that could be quite effective to disrupt her. So I'll go with Jabeur to break through. I just think the form we've seen from her in Berlin in general this year, up to number 3 in the world, is fantastic, and I think she's due a big run at a slam. It's going to happen at some point, I'm sure. And at Wimbledon, I think it's the place that suits her game the best. So I've got her to break through here. And
we've come out with the same final here. Ons Jabeur versus Kvitova. You've stolen most of my notes there, the Miami meeting, but then the concession made that Kvitova's in very different form now than when they met in Miami, so maybe you've got to consider that. So thank you for that, Ewan. The talking point I will go with, which I don't think any of us have mentioned yet, obviously juniors doesn't translate to seniors, but have we mentioned this podcast yet that Swiatek is actually a Wimbledon singles champion in the juniors?
No, we haven't.
I don't think we have. So there you go. Swiatek's won Wimbledon before, obviously so has Kvitova as well, but also the best player in the world right now. So I'll have her to come through. Meet Jabeur in the final as well. I've got Jabeur versus Haddad Maia. Only one previous meeting here as well, and that was in 2016. But I think Jabeur's probably just too strong right now for Haddad Maia, even with the form that the Brazilian has shown this grass court season. As you say, the grass suits her game very well. Her ability to mix up the play, throwing a nice little drop shot every now and then. And, the grass can help out with drop shots if it keeps it nice and low to the ground. So we've both got Swiatek versus Jabeur finals, but how do we see it going? Ewan, who's the Wimbledon champion in 2022?
I've gone for Iga Swiatek to continue the streak and take it to what would be 42 matches. So, I do think this would be a really interesting final. We didn't get it the French. I would like to see this time. So, because I think it would, Jabeur is maybe the player who could test Swiatek like a few others have been able to during this streak, and on a surface like grass. Again, just like we've discussed, I do think it would be she's the one who could really push it. But I've still got to just go with Swiatek with the run she's on, being the best player in the world, as you said, even on a surface where we haven't seen her really do it at senior level yet, but albeit a smaller sample size. I just can't go against her right now, and I don't see many reasons why a game can't be successful on grass. Even if the gap between her and other players I do think it's going to be closer than we saw at the French Open, definitely, particularly with what Jabeur can bring to the table. I've still just got to go with Swiatek, the way she's handled it in these big finals. Again, we've talked about it. I think not losing more than 4 games in any of the finals she's won this year. And I mean, in a 2 slam finals, winning both really convincingly. We just haven't seen her since she lost the first WTA final. She's won every other one, I think, without dropping a set. It's just an incredible run, and in these big matches she just always brings her best. So I've just got to back it to do it again, even if I do think there's the potential for this to be closer with what Jabeur can offer. But it would be a very interesting one. But just got to go with Swiatek.
I'm going to be honest and say that I haven't actually picked a winner in my notes. I've made quite comprehensive notes until the point of the final, where all I've got is they've got a 2-2 head-to-head. Jabeur won when they met at Wimbledon last year in the 4th round, and grass probably suits her a little bit better right now, maybe, although maybe not. Iga is Iga, and she'll try and hit through Jabeur. Can Jabeur really get that drop shot going if Iga's hitting aggressive heavy topspin into her? It's going to be difficult. So I could see it going either way, and was just going to predict it in the moment as we came onto the podcast. That was the plan, and I suppose I'm going to have to stop stalling and pick a winner. And yeah, I'm going to have to go with Swiatek as well. I'm going to say it for the millionth time. This podcast, the best player in the world right now. I remember the sign held up at the French Open, she may never lose again. That's, I think, how a lot of us are feeling right now. And it'd be great to see, her first Grand Slam outside the French Open, which she's won twice, her third slam in total. So, another big breakthrough for her. I'd love to see her win a slam aside from the clay at some point, because she's definitely an all surfaces player. She's got a massive game, so we'll give it to Swiatek. But whatever happens, once again, the WTA has set us up for a seriously interesting Wimbledon where anything can happen. So I think we'll leave it there, and we'll come back in a couple of weeks' time to review the action and probably look like idiots when it turns out that I don't know, Serena Williams has won the title after we've both kind of written her off a bit, saying she won't make it past the fourth round, but putting a decent show to the end. So we'll see. We'll come back, and we look forward to reviewing Wimbledon with you soon.